the 12-year-old girl in Houston that was tortured?
To strangers. I don't even know who you are, and I don't know who she is. I live in Pittsburgh.
Okay, but there was a child who was killed at the...
I don't know anything about it.
You don't know about the child that was killed by illegal immigrants?
We have now had multiple news cycles, weekly, sometimes daily, of innocent young girls who have been harmed, sexually assaulted, raped, murdered by illegal immigrants in this country. Fox News sent one of their reporters to the halls of the Capitol to track down Democrat congressmen to find out if they can actually respond to this, react to this. What do you say to the parents involved? Why aren't you more motivated to do something about border security and deportations of people who are in this country illegally so American citizens can be protected from this violent crime? The reactions on Capitol Hill were, well, there are many different reactions. I want to show them to you because they run the gamut. Each and every one of them have something in common, though. They will outrage you. Take a look.
Ask you quickly about the 12-year-old girl in Houston that was tortured.
To strangers. I don't even know who you are, and I don't know who she is. I live in Pittsburgh.
Okay, but there was a child who was killed at the...
I don't know anything about it.
You don't know about the child that was killed by illegal immigrants?
There you go. That's Congresswoman Summer Lee. I don't know who you are. I don't know who she is. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have time for you. You're a sitting congressperson. You've been elected to represent your district. Innocent American citizen raped and murdered. And that's the response? Yeah, talk to the hand. I don't know you. I don't know anything about it. By the way, I think she's lying. But if she really doesn't know anything about it, frankly, that's even more telling. Now, Jerry Nadler can't lie. He's the chairman of the Judiciary. Or no, excuse me. Now he's the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Jerry Nadler knows full well what's going on here. So he gives an even more maddening response. Here, take a look.
If you look at the statistics, the crime rate among immigrants is far lower than the crime rate among native-born Americans. So the whole issue is wrong.
Aren't the crimes preventable, though, if these people don't have a right to be here in the first place?
I've said what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't want to give a response to that. He gives the hand. I do like the hand. Can we see the hand again?
In the first place?
I've said what I'm going to say.
Oof. Yeah, this may be the most odious talking point that I've seen from the left, and I've been seeing it a lot lately. In fact, even Joe Biden tried to make this point during the State of the Union when he was confronted by Marjorie Taylor Greene about Laken Riley. Say her name. Remember that moment? And then his biggest problem that day in responding was that he was trying to make the point that non-immigrants cause more crime in America, but he used the word illegals. And that was the big headline. That was the big outrage. Instead of the fact that he used this talking point, which is, first of all, a lie, and second of all, beyond irrelevant, it's actually insulting to the victims of these crimes. All right, let's break it down for a moment. Let's watch what Jerry Nadler said one more time so that you can have facts at your disposal.
If you look at the statistics, the crime rate among immigrants is far lower than the crime rate among native-born Americans.
All right, now, first of all, I'm sure you've already seen through this for the lie that it is, but it's the most insidious kind of lie because it's sort of true. It's the favorite lie that Democrats have. The crime rates of native-born Americans is high. No, I'm sorry. I'll put it in his words. The crime rate of immigrants is lower than native-born citizens. All right. You already see through it, I'm sure. He used the word immigrants, not illegal immigrants. Now, the fact of the matter is immigrants who actually go through the process of becoming naturalized through the legal process, who actually take the time, spend the money, and have the respect for this country that we deserve to actually adhere to our immigration laws and come here legally. The fact of the matter is, yes, they are law-abiding people because they respect the law so much that they don't break our laws as their first act in entering our country. There's also more of a vetting process of people who enter this country illegally. They fill out forms. They're actually screened. We actually have processes in place. Now, whether those processes are working or not, I'm not sure. but at least we have the system in place to do some level of vetting of people who come to this country legally. And he lumped them all together. Those who come through the legal process and those who come here illegally, number one. Number two, the fact of the matter is huge numbers of law enforcement jurisdictions in this country, because of the mandates put on them by Democrat city councils, Democrat mayors, Democrat county supervisors, even Democrat state governments, they mandate that those law enforcement agencies do not keep records of the immigration status of the criminals that they apprehend. So there is, in many cases, no distinction when someone is arrested based on whether they are here legally or not here legally, or whether they're immigrants or natural-born citizens. The data does not exist. And finally, and you can go ahead and look this up. In fact, look it up with my name associated with it. The data point is this: the majority of the inmates in federal prison today are non-citizens. Go ahead and look that up with Larry O'Connor's name, because I said it several years ago on Fox News, and I was fact-checked on that. That's right. PolitiFact or Fact Check or Snopes, one of them, I don't remember. They investigated it. I remember they sent me an email. What's the basis of that you said? And let me repeat it. The majority of inmates in federal prison are non-citizens. And it's true. Now, of course, PolitiFact or whoever it was that fact-checked me on it gave it a mostly true. That's the best you can get when you're a conservative commentator in America today. So lie after lie after lie. But finally, and God bless it, the most important part of this. Imagine you are the parent of a child who was abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered. And then you find out that the assailant, the perpetrator, the suspect, the person who did that, the murderer, was in this country illegally, was in fact turned away multiple times at the border and was told not to come into this country, snuck into the country, apprehended, and then allowed to stay in this country. Imagine that is the person who murdered your precious little daughter. And then Jerry Nadler comes knocking on your door and says, listen, I know this is a rough day for you. I'm sorry, but I just want you to know that you shouldn't be upset about the immigration status of the person who raped and murdered your daughter. Because the fact is, the crime rate for immigrants in this country is much lower than people who are naturally born here. Now, don't you feel better? I'm sure it takes a lot of the anger away. I'm sure you feel a lot less enraged by what happened to your daughter. That's what Jerry Nadler is saying here. That's exactly what Jerry Nadler is saying here. And nowhere at any point does it even occur to him that if, in fact, our laws were adhered to and followed on something as basic to a country as having a secure border, that if that law was adhered to the way it was one president ago, that your daughter would still be alive. That apparently doesn't even cross the mind of Jerry Nadler. In fact, when he's charged with that or confronted with that fact by the Fox News reporter, what was his response again?
It's wrong.
Aren't the crimes preventable, though, if these people don't have a right to be here in the first place?
I've said what I'm going to say.
Because that is the fundamental response. Aren't these crimes? The measure is not what are the crimes committed by people in the country illegally versus the people who were born here. That's not the measure. No, the measure is what are the crimes committed by people who aren't supposed to be in this country compared to zero? Because if they're not supposed to be here in the first place, and they're breaking the laws to get here, and then they commit crimes, well, if you go back 3 steps and you enforce the laws so that they're not here, then there would be zero crimes committed by them because they're not here. Fox News wasn't done. They had one more politician to talk to. Let's take a look.
Isn't the crime preventable if parole were not happening, of people who are going to end up killing people in this country?
Because a very small percentage of immigrants did something bad, we shouldn't allow the program for all people. The question is, because one or two people did something horrible, we should rip away the benefit from everybody else. And we don't use that logic for anything else in this country.
Actually, they use that logic for everything else in this country. Anytime there's a mass shooting somewhere, they want to rip away your right to defend yourself and your family. And that's a constitutional right. That's exactly what they do all the time, right? I mean, all the time. Look what they're doing to Zyn right now. You know, there may be cases where some people get addicted to Zyn and they go overboard and it harms their health. So what's their initial response? What's their gut thing that they want to do? Their knee-jerk reflex? That's it. Ban Zyn. Nobody gets Zyn. No one gets, they got to kill it. Kill it for everybody. That's what they do all the time. But it's just for this issue that they call foul. It's just for this issue that say, well, you can't paint with a broad brush, right? All right, that leads us to the last and probably the most horrible political response to this terrible crime down in Houston. And this one, shockingly, comes from a judge in Harris County, Texas, right there in Houston. Now, thankfully, I don't think this is the judge hearing the case of the criminals who have been arrested in this terrible crime against this 12-year-old girl, but maybe she's indicative of the judges in that county. And if so, I think they might need to move the jurisdiction for the criminal trial. Watch this.
Judge, I spoke with Commissioner Ramsey, and I asked him this question. Based upon our policies as they exist, would you label Harris County as a place where immigrants come because of lax enforcement of laws? And he said yes. And he said that he believes that the policies of a sanctuary county drew characters like this, and that wouldn't happen elsewhere. I'd like you to react to that.
Well, I imagine you're talking about the horrible tragedy with Jacqueline, and just all the facts about it are almost unimaginable. So, of course, I want to acknowledge the family and her memory. And the issue of immigrants, I mean, Harris County is a county that is growing, that has a lot of opportunities. You know, most people say we're not from Houston, a lot of us, but we got here because of opportunities. And that was the case for my family as well. So I wouldn't say Harris County is sanctuary or not a sanctuary. The areas that are economic powerhouses are where people are going to want to go. Now, would these guys have been here where there are different immigration policies? Well, there was an opportunity to have them. President Biden worked with Leader McConnell on policies that specifically would have kept these guys out. And then former President Trump decided he didn't like them, and there was an inexplicable flip-flop from Senator McConnell, Leader McConnell, and the rest of the caucus. So that's on offer from President Biden, to have a system whereby these immigrants will not be released if they have not shown and that actual been through the actual process of being admitted legally. Now, we talk about immigration, and I really do want to separate the two, because it's very easy to malign a population. And these two men did not do what they did, or allegedly, because they are immigrants. Okay, they did not. These are two different things. In fact, the issue I think that we need to recognize as well is the issue of violence against women. That's
All right, you know what? I'm getting stupider and stupider watching this, because she's just drawing from every claptrap talking point that the left uses. Talk about a straw man. I mean, this is a straw man that Ray Bolger would be ashamed of. This is a straw man that could be singing and dancing down the yellow brick road to go see the Wonderful Wizard. No one, and I mean no one, is saying that these two committed this crime because they're immigrants. That's ridiculous. That's outrageous. Literally no one is saying that. What people are saying is that they shouldn't have been in this country. They broke our laws to get in here. They weren't vetted properly by the people who are supposed to secure our border and enforce our border security. We have laws, and they're being violated, not just by these two who came in illegally and then raped and murdered this girl. No, the laws are being violated by the president himself and the lack of enforcement of those laws. So no one's saying that, but did you catch what she said there? You shouldn't blame this president. The person to blame is the last president. These people are in the country illegally because of Trump. Trump is to blame. In the same breath that they say that it's outrageous to accuse this current administration and the party that's allowing people in the country illegally, rampantly, who then commit crimes here, many of them, they say it's outrageous to accuse this president, who has opened our borders, of being complicit in this crime. In the same breath, they said, however, it's absolutely appropriate to blame Donald Trump. Now, I would expect this from Democrats in Washington, as you just saw, and I would certainly expect it from Joe Biden tonight because, well, not only is he a mean-spirited liar and has been his entire career, but he's also got mashed potato for brains. So he's going to say whatever he's been told to say tonight as he was getting his happy juice injected into his veins. What's truly terrifying about this is that woman is a judge. That woman is a judge in Harris County, Houston, Texas, where these two alleged murderers, suspected murderers, will be tried. And that, well, do better, Houston, is all I can say. Do better.